Hi, I'm here today with Ben Shearer to talk about the Exerfly and its benefits of flywheel training for golfers. Welcome, Ben. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, Jake, my name is Ben Shearer. I'm the Chief Fitness Advisor for Golf Digest magazine. I'm the performance coach for players on both the PGA and European Tour, as well as own my own facility in Scotch Plains, New Jersey, where we work with golfers of all levels. We have juniors program, we work with amateurs, as well as the elite player.
Awesome, that's great to hear. Ben, can you go ahead and break down for us the benefits of flywheel training for golf and its advantages over, say, traditional workout exercise equipment like bands, cables, free weights, or anything like that?
Yeah, so a couple things when you think about golf, or a couple things that I think about when I think about golf, is number one is that the swing is really three parts, right? We have that backswing where we're turning and loading eccentrically the trunk in the backswing. Then when we get to that top, we have this kind of stopping, braking, pausing isometric moment at the top before we can then bring that club down in that concentric phase. So we have these three phases going on in the golf swing, and what's so important and so valuable about flywheels is you really can train all three of those at the same time. Most of the time, if we're trying to just train concentric, we're using free weights, let's say as an example, well then the eccentric load isn't usually high enough. Where in the flywheel, we can get an equal concentric and eccentric load. And because of inertia and the spinning of the wheel, we have this big braking eccentric force, and then obviously a big kind of isometric contraction at the top to stop the wheel before we get it going again. I call that last little part kind of a yielding isometric before we get into that full dead stop isometric. And then obviously when something's spinning one way with all that inertia and then trying to get it going forward in that concentric phase, I'm going to have to use a really high level of force, much more so than I would using, say, a traditional cable column or free weight type exercise. So the flywheel allows me to get this concentric, isometric, eccentric, all in one exercise while also getting a large amount of force production, which should help me increase in my club head speed. So that's one thing. And then you obviously have, cool about the flywheel, and what Exerfly has is we have these box platform type things, as well as we have pulleys. And in the golf swing, if you understand the golf swing, you understand you have three motions, right? We get to this backswing, we have this lateral motion as we move into the ball. Then we obviously have a rotary component. Most of us think of golf as a rotary sport, right? And then we have this vertical component as we post up, as we move into impact. And through these two pieces of equipment, obviously here, as the cable is moving up and down, is a great way for us to go and train those vertical components. And then on our horizontal pulleys, and we can put them on diagonals, whatever angle we want, we're going to getting that rotary component as well as that horizontal component. So just with two pieces of equipment, I can really hit all of the components of the planes of motion, that front, that lateral motion, that rotary and the vertical, as well as that eccentric, isometric, and concentric. So this type of training is super beneficial and actually gives you better, faster results than traditional exercise equipment.
Gotcha. And then is there any limitation to who can use it? Can it be used by, like you're saying, you work with amateurs, juniors, adult clients? Is there any limitation to who can use it, or is that pretty open to whoever's able to use it?
Yeah, anybody should be able to use it. Like traditional weights, there are different size wheels, so there's different loads per se. And what's really cool about flywheel training is that it's basically got an auto-regulation system in it, meaning that I'm going to get back from the flywheel kind of what I give it. So if someone is smaller or younger and maybe doesn't have as much strength, obviously they're going to be using a smaller wheel. But at the same time, it's not like the wheel's going to ever go so fast or it's so big that they're going to get overpowered by it. So it can be safe and effective for anyone because you can regulate the amount of load that they take, and they can still then reap all of those same benefits that anybody else training would. We traditionally hear people, oh, don't do strength training for young kids or whatever. This is a great, safe way to actually train, and because you're getting such an eccentric component to what you're doing, you're actually reducing the risk of injury.
So we've talked about kind of conceptually what flywheel training is and the benefits of it, but Ben, can you go ahead and break down here? We have the platform as one of the pieces of equipment. Can you kind of break down what it is and the advantages of it?
Yeah, so I really love this piece. This is kind of the showpiece, I would say, of the Exerfly line. And for various reasons, this piece is so great. Number one is the size of the overall platform. The platform is much larger than other platforms that are out there, which is nice, especially if you have big athletes. You know, if you're working with tall athletes that need to get in the longer, if you're doing, say, a split squat or an exercise like that, being able to have a little bit more room is nice. Number two is the weight of it. So it's heavy, it's not jumping off the ground, it's not moving around. It's a really comfortable, safe, stable feeling piece of equipment. The bench is something that's also really unique in that. So obviously we have this bench on here right now. It can easily be unscrewed and removed, and it can even be turned sideways in the other direction, say if I want to do an exercise like a hip thruster. And this bench is not only flat, it can be put into an incline position, so this allows me to do a lot of nice upper body exercises, not just lower body exercises like some of the other pieces of equipment that are out there. So the bench is a big add. One of the other really unique things is this has 2 pulleys. Most systems that are out there are single pulley systems. While I can use this as a single pulley system the same way, I can also use it as a double pulley system, which would allow me to do actual things like real squats with a bar per se on my back, or bench pressing, or shoulder pressing, or any of those type of exercises. I can do bilateral exercises, not just unilateral from the upper body perspective, as well as the lower body perspective. So those things are really great. Obviously I can take it off, I can be standing on here doing all of my traditional squatting, RDLs, split squats, you name it, lateral movement types, which is also really, really important. The smoothness. These flywheels are really smooth, they move really nicely. You don't feel like, you know, it's got this vibration going on. And then the last thing that really makes this piece so amazing is there's an option to get motorized technology. And what the motorized technology does is it allows you to get an eccentric overload. So what's eccentric overload? That means basically I'm going to have more force or a bigger overload. Let's use a squat as the example here, in the down phase, right? So in my squat, when I'm going down, that's the eccentric phase of that motion. I can actually have an overload that I program. And not only can I program it, I can exactly decide how much overload do I want. Do I want 5%? Do I want 10%? Do I want 7%? Do I want 13%? Whatever the case may be, which is great for your more advanced athletes, right? You're not going to take somebody who's brand new to working out or doing flywheel training and then just start jacking them up with big motorized. But if you have advanced athletes or people who've been training on flywheels and they get to the point where they're really getting good at it, that eccentric phase is so important for us from an injury prevention perspective. It allows us to generate more force in a golf perspective, right? If I'm going back and I can get a bigger eccentric overload, well, we talked about earlier, we talked about an eccentric loading in the backswing, right? So in golf, when I go in my backswing through my torso, from my hip and through my trunk, I'm eccentrically loaded. And then I create what's called X factor stretch when I start my lower body down before my upper body. This dynamic action is really important related to the eccentric phase. And because I can eccentrically overload my system, this is a great way to help me increase my power output.
So now let's take a look at something that Exerfly also has to offer in the portable system.
Okay, here's your portable platform. It's this simple, it's this small, it's this easy, right? You have 9 pieces, couple simple hand tightened screws, and you are done. The really cool thing about the portable also is that this pulley mechanism that you're using within your portable platform can also be used as a rack mount. So you can get all of your rotary and horizontal type exercises with one purchase of these 2 things. Well, this one thing actually comes with these 2 pieces. So what's really cool about this, obviously, is A, it's portable, but B, if you're a person who's been training and you've been working on flywheel work in the gym that you go to or at home, and you want to get on the road and continue your training, this is going to allow you to do it. If you're a professional athlete and you live out on the road for extended periods of time, this is going to allow you to do your training. And look, if you just have a space that's small and you just need a small footprint, this solves that problem as well. So what I'm going to have Jake do here is really quickly just put it together and show you how quick and easy this really is. It's just that simple. So you can see literally a few minutes, you can easily put this together, continue your training on the road, just as in an advanced way as you would at home.
Awesome, Ben. This is a really good piece of equipment. Now let's go ahead over to the gym and we can take a look at the portable rack mount. All right, I'm here in the gym with Ben talking about the portable rack mount. Ben, can you go ahead and tell us what you like about it so much?
Yeah, first, even just thinking about the name, the portable rack mount is, all of us who have gyms, we have a rack, and we're always looking for ways to get more equipment without giving up square footage, right? Space in our gym is such a premium, we're paying a lot of money for it, so if we can use something that we already have, get more bang for our buck in the same space, to me, number one, that's a huge, huge value in what we're doing. Obviously, the flywheel has all the other amazing benefits that we've talked about with the other pieces of equipment. Obviously we have our eccentric, isometric, concentric components. We have that awesome impulse at that moment of change of direction, which is that kind of change in momentum, that huge force required with the impulse there. What's so great about this is, obviously it looks like it's a set fixture here, but it's actually pretty simple for us to move it up and down or change the length, right? So depending on how much space I have that way, I can adjust my cable length. So say this is my cable here, you can see I can make this longer and or shorter, and then, I want to do a high to low exercise, or I want to do a horizontal exercise. You can see how simply Jake just moved that up and down the machine. So we're getting all of our horizontal loading, unlike the traditional platform, which is giving us more of a vertical loading. This allows us to do all of the exercises that require more force along that horizontal plane, as well as our rotary movements. So this allows me to get all the benefits that I can of flywheel training in a really small, really compact, not on its own, attached to something I already have, footprint. That is the key component here. So I'm getting maximal training, while at the same time, I'm actually not taking up or using up any new space.
Gotcha, awesome, Ben. Well, it's really great to hear about all the different benefits and stuff like that, especially with using the Exerfly. Thank you for taking the time to talk to us about it today.